Hello, I'm Christina with The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. I've also had a booth at an antique mall since 2015, and over that time I have learned a lot, and there's a lot that I have shared here with you on this channel. In fact, I'll put a link to the Booth 101 playlist if you didn't know there was such a thing, so you can check it out after you watch this video. Recently, I've expanded my new booth space, and I've really been thinking back. I've been looking back at old displays. I've been going through the memories and seeing how much I have learned over the years. And this video is all about the 5 things I thought I knew as a new booth owner, but I really didn't. So let's go through those 5 things. And if you're a booth owner and you've had a booth for a while and you think I missed anything, or you totally agree with some of these, comment down below and let me know, and let's share our information with all the newbies out there too. The first mistake that I think I made as a new booth owner is I thought I had enough stuff, right? I mean, I had been practicing. I set up barn sales in my mom's barn-shaped garage. We practiced. I set up like a similar size space. I had tons of stuff, right? Looking back on these pictures, I am just shocked by what I thought was enough items for a booth space and to turn a profit. I mean, now I know why some months it was so tight for me to actually make the rent, let alone have any extra. Luckily, I learned quickly that this was a problem, and some other booth owners pulled me aside. But I think one of the big problems for a lot of new booth owners, and I've seen this a bunch too in my booth owners business group that I have on Facebook. If you're interested in finding out more, I will put the link for the group in the description box below. But one of the things I'm constantly seeing is there's just not enough stuff. You have to have a lot of stuff. And as I've said here over and over again, it was advice that was shared with me. The smalls are what make the rent. So you need those small things. You need to fill your space with them because that's going to give you that cushion so you can make the rent and do well in your business and turn a profit. And let me just show you an example. I mean, look at this picture. Did I have enough stuff? Now when I'm looking back on these pictures, I'm seeing all of the blank spaces. Oh my gosh, you could put something there, you could put something there. Now I'm not saying get over cluttered, but you really need to learn how to fill your space. Number 2 was something I thought would be easy. I got this covered. The way you get shoppers into your booth. I totally knew how to do this. You just need to have a pretty display. It had to be well lit, and that the antique mall that you were in would do all the publicity, and the people would just stop. They would just know that there was a new space. They'd wander in, right? You'd make sales, right? I soon found out very quickly this was not true. I'm sure you've heard the saying, if you build it, they will come. And as a booth owner, this just is not the case. I mean, maybe you are incredibly lucky that your antique mall is just insanely busy and they publicize like crazy and they're doing all of the legwork for you. But in most cases, if you want your business to work, you got to work for it a little bit. And I found this out quickly. I knew I had to jump on the social media bandwagon. I knew I had to get an email list and do all of the things. And if you're a new booth owner and you need some more help, I do have a video here about social media that you might want to check out. But just because you have a pretty booth, just because you set up a new booth, doesn't mean the shoppers are going to immediately come in. It takes a while for the news to spread. And even if you're not doing social media, you think about the shoppers that find your booth space, then it takes a while for them to tell their friends and come. So it's gonna take a little time, and don't be discouraged by that. Number 3 on what I thought I knew is I thought I knew what good display was. I mean, my house was pretty. It was set up nice. I had been going to antique malls and antique stores since I was little. I'd seen tons of displays, but I really didn't know all of the science behind display. I hadn't learned things like pyramid display. I hadn't learned about how to make the eye travel, or always having odd number of objects, or how to properly stage a display or a bookcase, or all of the rules about not lining things up in a straight line. I mean, I just thought if it looked pretty to me, it was good enough. It took me some time, and I think this is because as a new booth owner, you have so many things to worry about that sometimes display is not instant. Sure, you want to make it pretty, and it might be pretty to you, but there are some simple tricks and tips that you can learn to make your booth even prettier. And on this channel, I have a whole bunch of videos where I tour other antique booths and I show off some display tips. If you want to check one out, I'll put one right here for you too. And having to do with displays, one of the things I really didn't realize is how often you would have to change things up. If things aren't selling, move stuff around. It's a secret, and I'm telling it to you because it works. The other thing is having a fresh, new display in your booth just can make such a difference. And also maintaining those displays is something most booth owners don't think about. Stopping by your booth a few times every week to make sure everything is tidy. You know, you close all the dresser drawers, you straighten the things up, you move the items that aren't from your booth back to where they go. All of these little things are so important to making your booth look the best for your shopper and to translate to sales. So displays are incredibly important. Learning about the basics of display, implementing, finding some tips and tricks, asking some experts are only going to help you. Another thing I thought I had figured out was how I would make the rent. I mean, it was all in my head. I had it completely figured out. I knew what would probably sell. And of course, it was going to be all of the furniture items because going in, I was like a big furniture girl. There weren't many smalls. The big ticket items were going to sell. Maybe I sell one or two or three. I'd make the rent and more. That wasn't the case. And I wish I could predict at this point still today what will sell. I mean, sometimes I have a good gauge on things that are hot in my area or hot in the booth, but overall, I'm always amazed by what sells and what doesn't. Big ticket items take a while to sell in most cases unless you're really putting them out there and publicizing and getting that information. One of the big things that surprised me is how I make my rent. Because a lot of times it's those small things. Those are the meat and potatoes. The larger items are completely the little extras, and those are the things that are gonna nudge you over and give you that extra little money each month. But one thing I haven't figured out, maybe some of you have, if so, comment down below, but is how to figure out exactly what's gonna sell. One of the tips I've figured out, now this is true, I've discovered this, that if I say, you know, that thing in my booth that I'm just absolutely sick of, I'm gonna bring it home because I'm just so sick of it. I'm just getting rid of it. I might donate it. Guess what usually sells the next day? Maybe I should use that with more of the items in my booth. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just reinforcing the point that it's really hard to predict what's gonna sell in your booth. One of the other things that I thought I had all figured out when I became a booth owner was how much work it was going to be. Sure, I was going to source some items, I was going to throw some things in the booth, make a pretty display. I was then going to kick back and relax, and things would just sell, right? Isn't that what happens? I really had no idea how much time hunting, cleaning, pricing, sorting, organizing, all of the books, the social media, I now have an online website, so there's so much even more that's involved with all that, doing these videos with you. There is so much that goes into my work, and I will say being a booth owner is the hardest job I have ever done. Now remember, before this, I used to teach middle school science. So middle school science to 13-year-olds. And this job is the hardest. Luckily, I truly love it. And That's one thing I think a lot of booth owners quickly discover, whether or not you love it enough, because this is a hard job. My hats are off to all of you that have stuck with it too. You must love it as much as I do. I really have a passion for saving old things and finding them homes, and that's why I keep doing what I'm doing, but you gotta love it. So those were just a few of the things that I thought I had figured out. One of the things that I thought would be hard and was totally hard was pricing. And I think over the years I've come up with some more techniques and tricks and tips. Another thing that I've thought was going to be really, really hard was all of the bookkeeping. And I think the more I do those things, the easier these become. I will say my big advice for all of you is if you're in this business, get some business friends that you can talk to, because it makes a world of difference. Because the hard things, you get tips and tricks and it makes it easier. And some of the things that are going to stay hard, like how much work it is, at least you have someone that you can talk to about it. Nobody else has a better idea of this business except the people who are in it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it has helped you maybe a little bit to kind of feel like you're not alone. And I'm wondering how many of you had some of the same mistakes that I did, that you thought you had these all figured out. Was there anything I missed? Comment down below and let me know. Like I said, I hope this video has helped you. If you are a booth owner or a newbie booth owner, you might want to check out this next video, because it's going to help you even more. Thanks again, you guys. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.